I had it all. A beautiful wife, Hannah, 3 amazing kids, and a house that felt like a home. 15 years of marriage, and I still felt lucky every morning waking up next to her. I worked 60-hour weeks at the finance firm to give them everything. Private schools, summer camps, the newest phones. I never complained, until that night I came home early and heard Hannah's voice downstairs at 2 a.m. Can you believe he still has no clue? 3 kids, all yours, and he is still paying for private school. My world collapsed in seconds. Let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe if you have ever felt the sting of betrayal. Trust me, how I handled it will shock you. My life before that night was exhausting but fulfilling. I was Cordell Thompson, senior investment manager, the guy who always volunteered to take weekend business trips if it meant more commission, more money for my family. My schedule was brutal Monday through Friday. Up at 5 a.m., gym by 5:30 a.m., at my desk by 7 a.m., home rarely before 8 p.m. Weekends were sacred though. I coached Thomas's baseball team on Saturdays. He was 12 and showed real promise. Lily, my 9-year-old princess, had me wrapped around her finger with her ballet recitals and science fair projects. Little Jason, just 5, would climb into my lap every Sunday morning while we watched cartoons, his tiny hands clutching his dinosaur toy. "Dad, can we get a dog?" Thomas asked me the weekend before everything fell apart. "Your mother is allergic, buddy." "You know that," I replied, tossing the baseball back to him in our backyard. "But Billy just got a hypoallergenic poodle. Mom could handle that." I smiled. "Let me talk to her about it. Maybe for your birthday." I was always the mediator between what the kids wanted and what Hannah would allow. She ran a tight ship at home, and I respected that. She had given up her career in marketing to raise our children, and I never questioned her decisions about the household. I focused on providing. That meant paying $30,000 annually for each child to attend Westfield Academy, the most prestigious private school in our town. It meant funding Lily's ballet lessons, Thomas's baseball camp, and all of Jason's early childhood enrichment programs. It meant the 4-bedroom house in the best school district, 2 SUVs in the garage, and annual family vacations to Disney or the Caribbean. That fateful night in October, I flew home a day early from a Chicago conference. The deal had closed sooner than expected, and I wanted to surprise Hannah. My flight landed at 1:01 p.m., and I took an Uber home, quietly letting myself in just after midnight. The house was dark and quiet. I slipped into bed next to my sleeping wife, planning to surprise her and the kids at breakfast. Around 2 a.m., I woke to an empty space beside me. Thinking Hannah might be checking on one of the kids or getting water, I was about to drift back to sleep when I heard her laugh from downstairs. Not her normal laugh, but the flirtatious one I rarely heard anymore. My stomach tightened. I crept to the hallway, careful to avoid the creaky floorboard near our bedroom door. The house was dark, except for a faint glow from the kitchen. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat. My palms were sweating as I made my way down the stairs, skipping the 3rd step that always squeaked. "I know it is hilarious," Hannah was saying, her voice low but clear in the quiet house. "Cordell works himself to death for these kids, and he has no idea they are not even his." My body went cold. I froze on the staircase, gripping the handrail to steady myself. "3 kids, all yours, and he is still paying for private school like the good provider he thinks he is," she continued, followed by that laugh again. "Thomas looks exactly like you, Derek. Those same green eyes." I am surprised Cordell never noticed. Derek. My mind raced. Derek Williams. Hannah's ex-boyfriend from before we met. They had remained friends over the years. He had even attended our wedding. "Jason was the riskiest one," Hannah continued. "Remember how Cordell was supposed to be in London that week? Then his trip got cancelled last minute and he wanted to celebrate. I had to pretend that early ultrasound was wrong about the dates. I felt sick. My legs nearly gave out as the truth crashed over me. Not one child, but all 3. My children, my family, my life, all a lie. My mother-in-law almost caught us last Christmas. Remember, Hannah was saying now, "Thank God Elaine loves me more than she loves her own son." Can you believe she has known about us for years and never said a word? She told me Cordell was just like his father, too focused on work to make a woman happy. My own mother knew. The betrayal cut even deeper. Elaine had always treated Hannah like the daughter she never had. But to keep this secret from me, I wanted to storm into the kitchen and confront her right there, but some instinct held me back. I needed to know more. I needed evidence. I needed a plan. So I silently retreated upstairs, slipped back into bed, and pretended to be asleep when Hannah returned 30 minutes later. She curled up next to me like nothing had happened while my mind raced with the horrible truth all night long. For the next week I lived a double life. On the outside I was the same Cordell. I kissed Hannah goodbye, each morning attended Thomas's baseball game, helped Lily with her science project, and read bedtime stories to Jason. But inside I was methodically gathering evidence and formulating a plan. My first call was to Martin Blackwell, a private investigator a colleague had used during his divorce. I paid him double his usual rate for expedited service. I need surveillance on my wife's phone records and discrete DNA tests on my 3 children. I told him in a coffee shop 3 blocks from my office. Martin looked at me with sympathetic eyes. He had seen this before. The DNA tests are straightforward. I will need a hair sample with follicle from each child and from you. The phone records might take a court order unless you are the account holder. The surveillance starts today. I was the account holder for our family plan, so getting the phone records was easy. The DNA samples I collected myself under the guise of checking the kids for lice after a school notification I had fabricated. While waiting for results, I dove into our financial history. I requested 5 years of bank statements and credit card bills. Hannah had always handled the household finances with me, simply transferring money to our joint account each month. Now I scrutinized every transaction. The patterns emerged quickly. Monthly cash withdrawals of $500 with no clear purpose. Unexplained charges at restaurants on days Hannah claimed to be having lunch with her girlfriends. A weekend spa retreat that when I called the resort directly showed she had registered as a couple, not with her friend Susan, as she had claimed. 4 days after hiring Martin, he delivered the first batch of surveillance photos. Hannah meeting Derek at a hotel at 1 p.m. on a Tuesday when she was supposedly at a dentist appointment. Hannah and Derek at a restaurant 30 miles away, holding hands across the table. Derek picking up Thomas from baseball practice when I had a work conflict. Then came the most damning evidence. The DNA results arrived via encrypted email exactly 1 week after I had collected the samples. Probability of paternity for Thomas Thompson, 0%. Probability of paternity for Lily Thompson, 0%. Probability of paternity for Jason Thompson, 0%. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. I had prepared myself for this, but seeing the scientific proof still felt like a physical blow. None of them, not a single one of my children, was biologically mine. The final piece came when I confirmed my mother's involvement. I had asked to meet her for lunch, something we rarely did one-on-one. "Mom, is there anything you think I should know about Hannah?" I asked directly after our food arrived. She hesitated just long enough to confirm what I already knew. "What do you mean, honey? Hannah is a wonderful mother to your children." "But are they my children, Mom?" Her face drained of color. "Cordell, what are you talking about? Please do not lie to me. Not anymore. I know about Derek. I know about the kids. I know you have been covering for them." Tears filled her eyes. "I was protecting you, and those children need stability. Protecting me by helping my wife cheat on me for our entire marriage. By letting me raise another man's children without my knowledge or consent. You work all the time just like your father did." Hannah was lonely. "Derek was there for her when you were not. I did not want you to end up divorced like we did." The irony was almost laughable. My mother's attempt to prevent history from repeating itself had guaranteed exactly that outcome. I left lunch with absolute clarity about what I needed to do next. The depth of betrayal I had uncovered was beyond anything I could have imagined. Hannah had robbed me of my choice to be a father to another man's children. My mother had robbed me of the truth. Together, they had made me live a complete lie for 15 years. That afternoon, I met with Alexander Graham, the best divorce attorney in the state. His retainer fee was astronomical, but I paid it without blinking. "I want to protect my assets and ensure that the truth about my situation is legally documented," I explained. "But I also want to maintain some provision for the children. They are innocent in this." Alexander nodded. "We can set up trusts for educational expenses that cannot be accessed by your wife. But first, we need to secure your financial position." Over the next 2 weeks, I followed his advice meticulously. I opened new accounts at different banks. I liquidated investments and moved money into protected assets. I documented everything I had discovered. All of this had to be done carefully to stay within legal boundaries while protecting myself. The hardest part was continuing to live with Hannah, to look at her every day knowing what she had done. To hug my children knowing they were not mine biologically but still feeling every ounce of love for them in my heart. They were innocent. They did not ask for any of this. Yet their entire existence was built on a foundation of lies. As Thanksgiving approached, Hannah went into her usual hosting frenzy. My mother would be joining us along with Hannah's parents who were flying in from Florida. The house was spotless, the menu planned to perfection. "Could you pick up your parents from the airport on Wednesday?" Hannah asked me on Monday of that week. "I will be busy with food prep." "Of course," I replied, knowing it would be the last favor I would ever do for her. That same day, I finalized the last pieces of my plan. I had already transferred most of our liquid assets to secure accounts. I had signed a 6-month lease on an apartment in another state. I had packed a suitcase that was hidden in my office. And most importantly, I had arranged for Derek to receive an anonymous message that would bring him to our house during Thanksgiving dinner. Wednesday night, I could barely sleep, knowing what the next day would bring. I looked at Hannah sleeping peacefully beside me and felt nothing but cold determination. The woman I had loved for 15 years was a stranger to me now. Thanksgiving Day arrived with perfect fall weather. Hannah was up early preparing the turkey. The kids were excited about the holiday, with Thomas helping set the table, Lily arranging flower centerpieces, and Jason running around in a paper pilgrim hat he had made at school. My in-laws arrived first, full of hugs and holiday cheer. My mother came an hour later bringing her famous pecan pie. She avoided making eye contact with me. "Everything looks wonderful," Hannah, my mother, gushed, hugging my wife while shooting me a nervous glance. Dinner was served at 4 p.m. The conversation flowed, focusing on safe topics like the children's school achievements, the unseasonably warm weather, and my father-in-law's new golf handicap. I participated minimally, counting down the minutes. At precisely 5:30 p.m., as Hannah was serving pie, the doorbell rang. "Are we expecting someone else?" Hannah's mother asked. "I will get it," I said, standing up. When I opened the door, Derek stood there confused. "I got a message to come here urgently." "What is going on?" I smiled for the first time that day. "Perfect timing. Please join us for dessert." The look of shock on Hannah's face when Derek walked into our dining room was worth every second of pain I had endured. "Derek, what are you doing here?" she stammered, dropping the pie server. "I think we all know what Derek is doing here," I said calmly, reaching into my jacket pocket. I pulled out 3 sealed envelopes and placed them in the center of the table. "These are DNA test results for Thomas, Lily, and Jason. Would anyone like to guess what they say?" The room went completely silent. My mother put her head in her hands. "Cordell, please, not like this," Hannah whispered, her face white. "Not like what, Hannah? Not in front of an audience. You have had quite an audience for your performance all these years." My mother knew. Derek obviously knew. "Did your parents know too?" Her parents looked genuinely confused, which answered that question. "What is going on?" Hannah's father demanded. "Your daughter has been having an affair with Derek for our entire marriage," I said evenly. "All 3 children are biologically his, not mine. And my own mother has known and helped them hide it from me." Chaos erupted. Hannah's mother gasped. Her father stood up angrily. Derek backed toward the door. The children looked confused and frightened. "Kids, please go upstairs to Thomas's room," I said gently. "This is grown-up talk. I will come up soon." After they reluctantly left, I continued. "I have transferred most of our assets to protected accounts. The house mortgage and utilities are paid through the end of the year, giving you time to make arrangements. There are trusts set up for each child's education that neither Hannah nor Derek can access. The documents are with my attorney." "You cannot just take our money," Hannah cried. "Our money. The money I earned working 60-hour weeks while you were sleeping with him." I pointed at Derek, who looked like he wanted to disappear. "Consider yourself lucky. I am providing anything for the children at all. Legally, I could walk away completely." I turned to my mother next. "As for you, Mom, your betrayal is something I never expected. You chose Hannah over your own son. You allowed me to live a lie." "I thought I was protecting your family," she said through tears. "There was no family to protect. Just an elaborate deception that you helped maintain." I stood up from the table. "I have already packed what I need. My attorney will contact you next week, Hannah. Do not try to find me." I walked upstairs to say goodbye to the children. They were huddled together on Thomas's bed, looking scared. "Hey guys," I said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "I need to tell you something important. I am going to be away for a while." "Because of the fighting?" Thomas asked. "Yes, buddy. Your mom and I have some very serious problems that cannot be fixed. But I want you all to know something." My voice caught. These children I had raised, loved, and protected were not mine biologically, but they were still mine in my heart. No matter what happens or what anyone tells you, I have loved being your dad. That will never change. I hugged each of them, memorizing the feel of their small bodies against mine, the smell of Jason's shampoo, the way Lily's hair curled around my fingers, the strength in Thomas's growing shoulders. "Will you come back?" Lily asked, tears streaming down her face. "I do not know, sweetheart. But you can always keep me in your heart, just like I will keep you in mine." I walked out of the room, down the stairs, and past the shocked adults still sitting at the dining table. I picked up my car keys from the hook by the door. "Cordell, please," Hannah called after me. "We can talk about this." I turned to face her one last time. 15 years, Hannah. 15 years of lies. There is nothing left to talk about. And with that, I walked out the door of the home I had built, paid for, and filled with love, not knowing if I would ever return. The first few months after leaving were the darkest of my life. I relocated to Austin, Texas, a city where I knew no one, and no one knew me. The anonymity was both a blessing and a curse. I found work at a small investment firm, taking a significant pay cut but appreciating the fresh start. My apartment was sparsely furnished, just the basics I needed to survive. I slept poorly, haunted by dreams of my children calling for me. I drank too much on weekends. I ignored calls from my mother and blocked Hannah's number entirely. My attorney handled all communication regarding the divorce proceedings. 4 months in, I hit rock bottom. I had spent an entire weekend in my apartment blinds, drawn surrounded by takeout containers and emptied whiskey bottles. When Monday morning came, I could not bring myself to go to work. I called in sick and sat on my balcony staring at the traffic below and wondering what the point of it all was. My phone rang. Unknown number. I nearly ignored it but answered on the final ring. "Hello, is this Cordell Thompson?" a male voice asked. "Who wants to know?" "My name is James Blackwood. Your firm connected us. I am looking for investment advice on a green energy startup I am developing." Something about his direct manner cut through my fog. "I am not really taking on new clients right now. Look, I was told you are the best at spotting undervalued opportunities. Just one meeting. If you think my idea is garbage, I will never bother you again." That meeting with James changed everything. He was a brilliant engineer with a revolutionary design for more efficient solar panels, but zero business sense. As I reviewed his business plan, I found myself engaged for the first time in months. His passion was contagious. "This technology could transform residential solar adoption, but your financial projections are wildly optimistic," I told him bluntly. Instead of being offended, James laughed. "That is why I need you. I know how to build things. I do not know how to sell them or fund them." Over the next few weeks, I helped James refine his business plan. In the process, I refined myself. I cut back on drinking. I started running in the mornings. I reconnected with the part of me that loved the challenge of building something valuable. 3 months later, James made me an offer. "Become my business partner. 30% equity. Help me turn this into something real." I hesitated. "I am not in a great place personally, James. You should know that. I do not need you to be in a great place. I need you to be smart, which you are. Whatever you are running from, it does not define what you can build going forward." That conversation became the foundation of Solaris Technologies. We started in a small office with just 4 employees. I leveraged every contact I had in the financial world to secure our initial funding. James delivered on the technology. Within 2 years, we had our first major contract with a national home builder. Year 3 brought expansion into commercial applications. Year 5 saw us developing proprietary battery storage systems to complement our solar technology. By year 7, Solaris had grown to over 500 employees with offices in 4 states. All the while, I remained disconnected from my past. The divorce had finalized quickly, with Hannah not contesting anything once faced with the evidence. My attorney provided occasional updates about the children's trust funds being used appropriately for their education. My mother sent holiday cards that I returned unopened. I dated occasionally but never allowed anyone close. My life became Solaris, and the company thrived under that single-minded focus. When Forbes featured me in their under 40 list in year 8, calling me the renewable energy sector's most innovative financier. I felt nothing but a hollow satisfaction. It was around that time that James confronted me in our office late one night. "You built a billion-dollar company from nothing, Cordell. You should be proud." I nodded absently, reviewing projection reports. "But you are still running," he continued. "Whatever happened before Austin, it still owns you." "I am not running. I am right here working 18-hour days to grow our company. That is the problem. You have replaced whatever you lost with work. It is not healthy, and frankly, it is starting to affect your decision-making." I slammed my hand on the desk. "My decision-making built this company, and it will destroy you if you do not find some balance." James sat across from me, unfazed by my outburst. "Take some time off, deal with your past, then come back and help me take Solaris to the next level." After much argument, I agreed to a 1-month sabbatical. With no plan in mind, I found myself driving east from Austin. 3 days later, I crossed the city limits of my old hometown in Connecticut. Everything looked smaller than I remembered. I drove past my old office building, past Westfield Academy, where the kids would no longer be students. On impulse, I drove down my old street. Our house, once the proudest on the block, looked neglected. The paint was peeling, the garden overgrown. A "for sale" sign stood in the front yard. I parked across the street, staring at the house that had once been the center of my world. An elderly couple walked by, doing a double take when they saw me. Cordell Thompson, is that you?" the woman asked. It was Mrs. Patterson, our former neighbor. She had brought us a casserole when Jason was born. "Hello, Mrs. Patterson." "Yes, it is me." "My goodness, we thought we would never see you again. Are you here about the house? Hannah and those children moved away last year. Such a shame to see it sitting empty." "Moved away? Where did they go?" "Somewhere in Massachusetts, I believe. After her mother passed away, Hannah said there were too many painful memories here. The children must be nearly grown now. How time flies." I thanked her and drove to the local coffee shop to collect my thoughts. The barista was new and did not recognize me. I sat at a corner table, contemplating my next move. "Dad," I looked up into the face of a young man who appeared vaguely familiar yet completely changed. "Thomas," I barely whispered the name. He stood there, 22 years old, now taller than me, and with the same green eyes Hannah had once attributed to Derek. A wave of emotion crashed over me. "I cannot believe it is you," he said, sliding into the chair across from me. "I am home from college for the weekend. Mrs. Patterson texted me that she saw you. You still stay in touch with the neighbors?" "I work summers for Mr. Patterson's landscaping company. Helps pay for books." He studied my face. "You look different." 10 years will do that. You were just a boy when I left." Thomas nodded. "I know everything now. Mom told us the truth when I turned 18. Lily and Jason too." The mention of their names made my heart contract. "How are they?" "Lily is 19, studying nursing at Boston University. Jason is 15, still in high school. They are good kids." He paused. "We all knew something was wrong that Thanksgiving, but we never imagined the whole truth." "I am sorry you had to find out that way. Derek left not long after you did. He was not interested in actually raising us once. Mom had no money. She had to sell the house last year when Grandma Elaine died. We all live in a small apartment now." The mention of my mother gave me pause. "Elaine died," Thomas nodded. "Cancer. It was quick, at least. She asked about you near the end, left you a letter with her attorney. We talked for hours." Thomas filled me in on the decade I had missed. Hannah had struggled financially, working 2 jobs to keep them in decent schools. My mother had helped until her health failed. Derek had disappeared from their lives completely after trying and failing to access the children's trust funds. "Mom regrets everything," Thomas said quietly. "She has told us that 1,000 times. She destroyed something precious and has paid for it every day since." I felt the weight of 10 years of anger and pain shifting slightly. Not disappearing, but transforming. "Would you like to see Lily and Jason?" Thomas asked. "They are coming to help me clear out some things from the house this weekend. The new owners take possession next month." 2 days later, I stood in the driveway of my former home as a car pulled up. Out stepped a beautiful young woman with Hannah's features, but a confidence all her own, and a teenage boy, tall and lanky like I had been at that age. "Oh my God," Lily whispered when she saw me. Then she was running, throwing her arms around me in a hug that nearly knocked me over. Jason approached more cautiously but eventually joined the embrace. We spent the weekend together, walking through the empty house, sharing memories both painful and precious. They showed me photos of their lives that I had missed. We talked about their dreams, their struggles, their triumphs. On Sunday evening, as they prepared to leave, Jason asked the question I had been dreading. Will we see you again, or is this goodbye for real this time? I looked at these three young people who had once been the center of my universe. Not my biological children, but still in some undefinable way, mine. This is not goodbye, I said firmly. I am not here to reclaim the past, but maybe we can build something new, something based on truth this time. The next day, I made an offer on my old house. The realtor was shocked at my above-asking price, an all-cash offer. Within a week, the property was mine again. I hired contractors to begin renovations immediately. I used some of my Solaris stock to establish a new foundation focused on supporting children from broken homes. I named Thomas as its first director, with Lily and Jason serving on the youth advisory board. I never reconnected with Hannah. Some bridges once burned cannot be rebuilt, but I did visit my mother's grave, placing flowers and finally reading the letter she had left. I chose wrong, she had written. In trying to protect a family, I destroyed my son's trust. I hope someday you can forgive me, not for my sake, but for your own peace. A decade after leaving with nothing but a suitcase and a broken heart, I returned as a billionaire. But the real wealth was in finding a way to forgive, not to excuse the betrayal, but to free myself from its power over me. True family, I learned, is not always defined by blood or legal documents. Sometimes it is built through conscious choice, through showing up when it matters most, through deciding that love is stronger than pain. What would you do if your entire life was based on a lie? Would you find the strength to rebuild? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if my story resonated with you. Subscribe for more real-life experiences, and share with someone who might need to hear that even after betrayal, there can be healing. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings.